At some point every evening, they disappear. One moment your yard is alive. Cardinals at the feeder, chickadees moving through the maple, a robin pulling the last worm from the lawn before the light goes. And then, in the space of about 20 minutes, they are gone. The feeders are empty. The branches are still. The yard that was full of life an hour ago looks like a different place entirely. Where did they go? Most people assume the birds are simply somewhere nearby, flying around, roosting vaguely in trees, doing whatever birds do when humans stop watching. But the reality is far more specific, far more deliberate, and far stranger than most people realize. What happens to your birds between dusk and dawn is one of the least observed and most extraordinary parts of their lives. Tonight, while you are asleep, the birds in your yard will do things that would stop you mid-breath if you could see them. Some of them will drop their body temperature by degrees just to survive the cold. Some of them will pack together in spaces so small you would not believe a single bird could fit, let alone several. Some of them, the ones you never think of as travelers, will be flying hundreds of miles above your house in complete darkness. If videos like this matter to you, subscribe before you leave. There are many more coming, and what you are about to learn will permanently change the way you think about the birds you see every morning. The northern cardinal is one of the easiest to track. In the hour before sunset, a male cardinal moves to dense vegetation, a thicket, an evergreen shrub, a tangle of vines within a few hundred feet of his daytime territory. He chooses the densest cover available, not for warmth primarily, but for protection. A sleeping bird is a vulnerable bird, and dense vegetation is the closest thing to invisibility a cardinal can achieve. He returns to the same roost site night after night for weeks or months at a time. If you have a thick holly bush or a dense arborvitae hedge in your yard, there is a reasonable chance a cardinal has been sleeping in it every night this winter without you knowing. He was there last night. He will be there tonight. The chickadee's strategy is different and considerably more surprising. On cold nights, black-capped chickadees enter a state called regulated hypothermia. They deliberately lower their body temperature by up to 22 degrees Fahrenheit, below their normal daytime level. Their metabolism slows dramatically. Their heart rate drops. They are not fully asleep in the way we understand sleep. They are closer to a controlled shutdown, conserving enough energy to survive temperatures that would otherwise be fatal. A chickadee weighs about 11 grams, roughly the weight of 2 pennies. On a cold winter night, the energy budget of that tiny bird is so tight that without regulated hypothermia, it might not survive to morning. Chickadees find cavities, old woodpecker holes, gaps in tree bark, nest boxes, and sleep inside them. The walls trap the warmth of the bird's body and reduce heat loss by 60 to 90%. A chickadee in a cavity on a cold night is operating with a level of physiological precision that took researchers decades to fully understand. The eastern bluebird does something that challenges everything most people believe about bird behavior. Bluebirds are fiercely territorial during the breeding season, but in winter, that same bluebird will squeeze into a nest box with up to a dozen others and sleep pressed against them for warmth. The territorial rules are entirely suspended. The calculation becomes simple. Shared body heat means survival. Researchers have documented nest boxes containing 12 to 15 bluebirds on a single cold winter night, birds that during the day would not perch within 30 feet of each other, sharing a 6-inch wooden cavity without conflict. The nest boxes you put up, the dense shrubs along your fence, the brush pile you never quite cleared. On the coldest nights of winter, those are not garden features. They are the difference between birds that wake up in your yard tomorrow and birds that do not. A sleeping bird is not fully switched off. Many birds sleep with one eye open, literally. One hemisphere of the brain enters deep sleep while the other remains fully awake, the open eye scanning for anything that does not belong. Cornell Lab of Ornithology researchers studying mallard ducks documented this clearly. Ducks at the edge of a sleeping group kept the outward-facing eye open, monitoring the environment, while ducks in the center slept with both eyes closed. The vigilance was distributed across the flock. When researchers removed the threat from one side, the edge ducks closed both eyes. When the threat returned, the eye opened again. The chickadee in the woodpecker hole in your oak tree is not fully asleep tonight. It is monitoring. The snap of a branch, the scrape of a claw on bark, the low hoot of a great horned owl drifting across the neighborhood. All of it is being processed. The nighttime yard that looks completely still from your window is running a sensory network you cannot see. Twice a year, the night sky above your house fills with birds. Not dozens, not hundreds. On peak migration nights in late April and early May, and again in September and October, the number of birds crossing over a single point in the eastern United States can reach into the millions in a single night. These are your birds. The wood thrush that spends summers in the trees behind your house left last October and has been in Central America since then. Right now, in late April, it is flying north directly above you. The ruby-throated hummingbird that will arrive at your feeder in May crossed the Gulf of Mexico last night, 900 miles non-stop, navigating by stars and magnetic fields, burning fat reserves at a rate equivalent to a person running back-to-back marathons. Cornell Lab's Birdcast project tracks this in real time using weather radar. On a peak migration night, the radar image of the eastern United States shows what looks like an enormous weather system moving northward. Not rain, not clouds, birds. The biological mass of migration is large enough to return radar signals strong enough that meteorologists spent years trying to understand what they were seeing. Research from the University of Oldenburg in Germany has shown that migratory birds can perceive the Earth's magnetic field visually through a protein in their eyes called cryptochrome. To a warbler flying over your house at 2:47 in the morning, the sky does not look dark. It looks like a grid of orientation information that has no equivalent in any human sense. On clear nights, birds navigate by star patterns, recalibrating direction as the stars rotate. On cloudy nights, they shift to magnetic cues. The system is redundant by design, and while those birds pass overhead, something else is happening in the branches of your yard. At some point between 2 and 4 in the morning, in the coldest hours of the night, a male cardinal in your holly bush is awake, fully awake. His body has been cooling for hours. A cardinal weighs roughly 45 grams, about the weight of a golf ball, and on a night when temperatures fall into the teens, he is burning through fat reserves at a rate that gives him perhaps 12 to 14 hours of survival time without food. By 2 in the morning, he has already gone 7 hours without eating. His body is running a calculation it has run every winter night of his life. Between 2 and 4 in the morning, cardinals and many other small songbirds engage in what researchers call nocturnal torpor adjustment, a controlled reduction in body temperature and metabolic rate, just enough to stretch fat reserves without dropping so low that the bird can no longer respond to threats. Research published in the Journal of Avian Biology has documented that cardinals can lower their nighttime body temperature by 3 to 5 degrees Fahrenheit during the coldest hours, reducing energy expenditure by up to 10%. 10% is not a small number. 10% is the difference between a bird that reaches dawn and a bird that does not. The yard goes quiet at dusk. The feeder's empty. The branches go still. But what you are looking at when you see that empty yard is not absence. It is concealment. The cardinal is in your holly bush, running calculations in the dark. The chickadee is in the woodpecker hole in the oak, body temperature at the minimum required to sustain life. Somewhere above your roofline, birds you will not see until May are passing through in their thousands, navigating by stars and magnetic fields, following routes their ancestors traveled for millions of years. This happens every night. You have been living beside it for years without knowing the full shape of it. Now you know. Tell me in the comments, have you ever heard birds singing in the middle of the night, or seen something moving through your yard after dark that surprised you? I want to hear about it. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.